He owned 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 slaves.
I can see that.
Welcome to WatchMojo UK, and today we're looking at eye-opening, disturbing, and sometimes heartbreaking genealogy revelations on Who Do You Think You Are?
Married to Regina. Name of first child Elisa Lydia. That's it again.
Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. Number 10. Kate Winslet.
So Anders stole.
Yeah, and why did he steal?
Because he was starving,
Yeah,
and so were his children.
His child, the youngest child, had died, and so he needed food for his family.
Star of the silver screen, Kate Winslet is easily one of the most famous people to have appeared on the show, traveling to Scandinavia to track down her distant ancestors.
Good on you, Anders. I would have stolen the potatoes as well.
She found one of them, Anders Johnson, had spent time in prison with a tragic end. Throughout the 1800s, Sweden was ravaged by famine, which led Anders to steal a few barrels of potatoes from some local farmers to try and feed his family. He also stole some beehives.
Stated that he is 42 years old and has never been suspected of any crime. My God, so he was only a year younger than me.
He got caught and sent to prison, where it was eventually revealed that he died of nerve fever, probably typhus. Winslet was moved to tears at the lengths he went to just to take care of his children, only to be punished for doing so.
And he's on the next page across from his little boy. So his son, Gustav, is here at 3 months old.
Number 9. Vicky McClure.
I just can't comprehend what he'd have felt like. How his head must have been.
She wanted to find out what happened to her great-grandfather Harry, tracking him to Taiwan, where he was a prisoner of war. After being sent to fight in Singapore, Harry was captured in the subsequent surrender of British forces, brought to Taiwan by the Japanese, and taken on a death march from one prison to another.
As they were walking to the new prison camp, there were people dying at the time because the conditions were so difficult. And some locals would come out and actually observe them on the march.
He survived the march, but didn't survive the war, eventually perishing after falling in the mine he was made to work at. McClure broke down, feeling so far away from home, which is just a taste of how Harry presumably felt. Seeing where he came into port and where he walked, she was overwhelmed.
My head's all over the shop. And then I'm learning information that is just horrific, and it's my great-granddad, it's my mum's granddad, it's too close.
Number 8. Joe Lycett.
So boys were chosen to climb the chimneys because of their size. He would use his knees and his hands would be cupped to the inside of the flue wall.
Even Joe Lycett didn't have anything funny to say when he went to learn about the horrific realities of being a Victorian chimney sweep. He had numerous ancestors working as chimney sweeps, but one of them was his great-great-grandfather, Robert Wilkinson.
This is awful.
It was a terrible, filthy, horrible job, and very harsh treatment by the master sweep for the boys.
He went to a nearby stately home and saw one of the very chimneys Robert likely had to climb up, but the details of apprenticeship as a sweep were somehow even worse than anyone could imagine.
At first, they will come back from their work with their arms and knees streaming with blood.
Not only was there the damage to the lungs, but the sweeps were also mistreated by their masters, with their limbs often suffering permanent damage because of how they were contorted in the chimneys.
It's quite believable to think he went up these chimneys, yeah.
Wow. Oh my word. I feel uncomfortable about it for some reason.
Number 7. Sarah Millican.
It says, it was our painful duty to announce the melancholy catastrophe, the loss of the Pegasus steamer.
In 1843, the Pegasus, a wooden paddle steamer, struck rocks and was wrecked during a voyage between Leith and Hull. Sarah Millican's ancestor James didn't die on the Pegasus, but was one of the people tasked with retrieving the bodies and their possessions to return them to their families.
The surface of the water was covered in the dead and the dying. The screeching was fearful. Wow. That's horrific, isn't it?
But disturbingly, those divers were allowed to take a cut from the value of what they brought up from shipwrecks, though actually, this was an incentive to ensure the work got done.
The divers have 40% on the value of all they bring up. It's described as melancholy work, wrenching open boxes and tearing out their saturated contents.
Sarah was moved to tears when an old record describes the clothes of children being recovered, and when she read an advertisement putting up a reward for the recovery of certain bodies so that they could bury their dead.
A reward of £3 will be paid for the recovery of either of the bodies of 2 children, Master Field Flowers and Miss Fanny Maria Flowers.
Number 6, Claire Foy.
If the bodies had not been swept down to the sea, a pool about 160 yards below the breakwater in front of the church would be a very likely place for one or more of them to lie.
She travelled to the River Eden in Cumbria to see the place where her great-great-grandfather, Henry Stimson, tragically drowned during a cross-country race that went wrong.
It proved to be the jersey of one of the missing men, and the body, on being set loose from the sticks in which it had been entangled, rose to the surface.
She learns that while the river can look calm, like all large bodies of water, it shouldn't be trifled with. A handful of men were pulled under the water while crossing where it was too deep, with Henry being among them.
By the clothing and the red jersey and knickerbockers, it was identified as Private Stimson, one of the 2 married men who drowned.
She was shaken to be standing at the riverbank by the whirlpool where he drowned, and his body was later found. More chilling, if somebody had seen them, they potentially could have been rescued, but nobody did.
I think it's even sadder because it's 400 yards from where they went in.
Number 5, Lulu.
Your mother was with this family only for 1 month, for a very, very short period of time.
She had one thing on her mind going into Who Do You Think You Are? Why was her mother, Elizabeth, given up for adoption by her parents? She went through local records in Scotland and found the family her mother had been placed with, who were paid by the birth parents to look after the child in the case of a private adoption, which it was. Reading about her mother being given up when she was only a few months old, Lulu was in tears.
Child went to school yesterday for the first time and is very pleased with herself.
Despite Elizabeth's mother disappearing and her father not paying for her upkeep, she ultimately remained with her foster family, who provided her with a better upbringing than her birth parents.
In a lot of respects, your mother has been a very, very fortunate child.
Yes, and that's what my uncle James said. She was lucky.
Number 4, Sheridan Smith.
Shortly before 4 o'clock this morning, a fire broke out on the premises of Mr. Doubleday, Woodman Inn, Sheffield Moor.
This saga was a genuine roller coaster, with Sheridan Smith wanting to track down her great-great-grandfather, Benjamin Doubleday, who was a banjo player. She felt a connection with him because of their shared love of entertainment, though he eventually put music aside to become a pub landlord.
There's scarcely any furniture in any of the rooms. Doubleday was the only person on the premises. He was leaving the house this week, having removed most of his belongings.
But after a suspicious fire in which all the furniture had already been removed from the pub, he was arrested on suspicion of arson.
God, I did not see any of this coming.
Is this quite a shock then?
Real shock.
This criminal past shook her to her core, but additional records showed that he was found not guilty at his trial and ultimately cleared. She had a hard time even reading the articles.
Prisoner was found not guilty and discharged.
Yep.
Number 3, Anna Maxwell Martin.
Dear sir, I'm writing to you on behalf of Maxwell Youngson, so Grandad.
Yes, your Grandad, huh?
I had a letter from his elder sister, at present in Australia.
Having taken the middle part of her stage name Maxwell from her grandfather, Anna Maxwell Martin wanted to learn more about him because he was an enigmatic figure in the family history. It turned out that a whole generation of her family were living in an orphanage because of their unfit father.
Would you kindly reply and let me know if I can have him?
Isn't that very robust?
Some of the elder sisters had already left and emigrated around the world to Australia and New Zealand, and wrote to the orphanage to beg him to be allowed to live with them.
It's just because he's so little and somebody's saying, I'll have him, I don't need anything, and they're obviously still saying...
And that's his older sister who he never met.
Eventually, the siblings were heard, and Maxwell was allowed out of the orphanage to live with his family away from the influence of his wicked father, as the reports dubbed him. Number 2. Ainsley Harriott.
One moment you're feeling this almost hatred for people who dominated and controlled and...
In a chilling moment, TV chef Ainsley Harriott went to Jamaica to learn about his roots, but had to grapple with some horrific truths about his ancestors. Expecting to find out that he was descended from slaves on plantations, this was only partially true. Some of his ancestors actually owned slaves themselves, and he had white family members.
He actually purchased these slaves from his father. So his father gave him 10 shillings and then took about the 10 shillings and gave him slaves.
The revelations didn't stop, with all of it coming as an immense shock, especially finding out that the Harriott name he still has came from his white ancestry.
It's ridiculous. I mean, it's a 4-year-old child. What does a 4-year-old child know?
He was broken, and it goes to show what a complicated and disturbing legacy colonialism still has to this day, even almost 200 years after slavery was abolished.
So this was something that was passed down through the family, learning the skill and art
of purchasing your slaves.
Of purchasing slaves.
Number 1. Stephen Fry.
They've all been killed, and they never would talk about it again. And I know they were killed in a concentration camp, but I don't know where.
National treasure Stephen Fry wanted to investigate his Jewish European ancestry, but this journey ended in disturbingly predictable tragedy. Like many Jewish people, but particularly those whose ancestors fled continental Europe in the 20th century, he could trace his ancestors to the Second World War, learning that many of them had perished behind the gates of Auschwitz.
Place of death, Auschwitz camp. So that's my grandfather's sister, my mother's aunt.
The family already knew that their ancestors had died in the camps, but they didn't know which one or where because, understandably, his grandparents never wanted to talk about it if they knew the facts at all.
So that's the other girl. That's Elisa. Date of death 44, Auschwitz camp.
It was devastating to see him go through the list of recorded deaths and finally learn exactly what had happened.
It's so stupid because I knew this. We all knew that they'd died, at least believed it.
Let us know in the comments which moments left you reaching for the tissues too.